petrol and diesel will be provided at the reasonable rates to consumers. What does he mean by reasonable rates? What is the criteria of reasonable rates?
Merely, this was an absolute full toss.
The Honorable Minister has given a very elaborate reply. And in the last para of his reply, he has said under the USO's, Universal Service Obligations, the petrol and diesel will be provided at the reasonable rates to consumers. What does he mean by reasonable rates? What is the criteria of reasonable rates? Because in world market, prices have gone down, but we are still giving consumers at the higher rate, both petrol and diesel. This is a very serious problem, sir. So you please define what is the reasonable rates to consumers.
You have asked it, you see. Honorable Minister.
I am deeply grateful to the honorable member for having asked
Honorable
this
Minister,
question.
I every time get very suspicious when the minister is grateful to the member.
Yes, because when full tosses are thrown at in a cricket tournament.
Okay.
So
So it was a full toss.
Merely, this was an absolute full toss. Sir, I would like to remind the honorable member that the petrol and diesel were deregulated when the then government was in office between 2004 and 14. Deregulation means that the prices of the commodity in the market are not set by the government. So we have an interesting situation on our hands, and I'll come to the second part of the honorable member's question of prices here being high and elsewhere being low. It's exactly the opposite. In India today, the prices are the lowest, and this is the only country where prices have actually come down, thanks to the very bold and ambitious and far-sighted decisions taken by the Honorable Prime Minister. When the government of 2004 and 14 was in office, we had a very learned finance minister who decided in order to maintain price is at a level, he floated something called oil bonds, sir. Oil bonds were floated for 1,41,000 crores, and as they say in my language, Punjabi, o karza le nana te pukte pota. Today we are having to pay back 3,50,000 crores for that kind of a far-sighted decision. Mr. Honorable Sir, let me also mention to you that today it is the government's intention, it is the government's resolve, and the government is doing all that it can to ensure, but we are not in a position to because it's a deregulated sector. So what happens is the following. The last time the government could direct was in 2011-12, just after the petrol had been deregulated and diesel still had to be deregulated. Today, the determination of dealers' margin, which is what the thrust of the question is all about. It is not about oil leak somewhere or something else. The question is, can the dealer's margin be increased? Now, this is a commercial, contractual situation between the OMC, that is the public sector petrol and diesel selling companies, and the dealers whom they employ as part of their contract. So we have currently in the country 90,639 ROs or retail outlets, out of which 81,000 are in the public sector, and the other 9,000, sir, are in the private sector, which is Reliance and Nayara. These are the two private sector. We have been monitoring this. There are discussions going on between the OMCs and the dealers. Last time the margins were increased, the dealer's margin was in 2017. But at that point of time, they went to court. And why did they go to court? The dealer's margin today is, I can read out the amounts to you, both in terms of petrol and diesel, the OMC dealer margin is higher, I think, than the private sector unit still. They went to court because they thought some of the conditions in the guidelines which had been stipulated were somewhat stringent. So when the dealer margin is raised, one of the conditions that the dealer has to comply with is to ensure that the wages to their employees are paid according to the Minimum Wages Act or such acts which are distinct. So the OMCs won the case in the High Court, and then their dealers went up to the Supreme Court in 2022. It is sub judice, but we are encouraging dialogue between the OMCs and the dealers, and we would like to see them coming to a conclusion so that what the honorable member has said, a reasonable return can be taken. But on global prices, I would suggest a fact check. So we are in a situation we were able to control prices because the honorable Prime Minister reduced excise on 2 occasions, which brought down the price by 13 and 16 rupees. VAT reduction in BJP state were even more because they reduced. Unfortunately, not all the other states complied. In one of the states, sir, recently they raised the prices. I'm referring to a particular state in the south. I'm not taking any name. So thank you for the question. It gave me an opportunity to reply in a more wholesome manner.
न्यूज नेशन अब व्हाट्सएप पर खबरों के ताजा अपडेट के लिए न्यूज नेशन के इस QR कोड को स्कैन करें।